listeners. Welcome to Plano's Political Pitbull Podcast. I am Esther.
And I'm Ruth.
And as one of my southern friends would say, I am madder than a wet hen. But before I tell you why I am madder than a wet hen,
what's that even mean?
I'll explain. Before we get into that, our sponsor is Southwest Pain Management. Southwest Pain Management takes care of most chronic pain without pain pills. Their goal is to get you back to doing the things you love. They are also the world's leading long COVID experts. Dr. Groisman sees people from all over the world to treat their long COVID. Southwest Pain Management is in Plano. Please go to their website, reliefbeginshere.com. That's reliefbeginshere.com to see all that they do. So, yes, I was madder than a wet hen. Now, apparently, hens do not like to get wet, so they get very mad when they get wet. That's the saying.
Okay.
That's where the saying comes from. So I was watching the Plano City Council meeting from March 9th. Specifically, I was watching the preliminary meeting, so the one that gets held at 5 o'clock. And comments of public interest was on the agenda. Now, for those who may not be aware, we are required, all government bodies are required to have comments of public interest on the agenda. That is, they are required to give people their right to address their government body for a redress of grievances on things that are not on the meeting's agenda. This is how sometimes the city's council gets things brought to their attention. For example, it was during comments of public interest that the problems with the Airbnbs or the Venmos, the short-term rentals, were brought to light because people would come and complain about the experiences they were having and the fact that the enforcement was not being taken care of for these things. So people would come every or so council meeting and they would tell the council what was going on, and they demanded an ordinance or enforcement of existing zoning law to take care of this. A year later, they got it done finally. But it was only through them persisting to come and petition their government for a redress of grievances that they were able to get an ordinance controlling the situation that had gone totally wrong. The comments of public interest are required by state law. However, state law does not require where they can go, how long they are allowed, what topics they can bring up. Just it has to be something that's obviously not on the agenda. Well, as you recall, we had this problem, the Alex Stein problem, where Alex Stein, a comedian, would come and he would basically be talking about things in a sarcastic, satire, joking way that really council could not do anything about. One of his things went viral and he got on Tucker Carlson back when Tucker was still on Fox News Channel. Well, Alex seemed to be going away, so they brought back comments of public interest to the beginning of the meeting. They had moved them to the end. They had even gone as far to move them to Zoom when they were over at meeting at Davis Library when City Hall was under construction. Well, Alex made one appearance where he acted like a clown, and all of a sudden, the mayor brings back a discussion on comments of public interest at a preliminary meeting. I turn my back on these people for 1 minute. 1 minute, one time I don't pre-check the agenda before the meeting, and this is what happens. I'm telling you gotta watch these people all the freaking time. Shelby and Anthony, when they were on council, they fought very diligently not to get rid of comments of public interest completely, which at the time they could have done. They fought very hard to move them back up to the front of the meeting when they were delegated to the end of the meeting. We talked about that on a previous episode.
You mean relegated?
Yes. Pushed to the back, right? They fought very hard to move them back to the front because sometimes council is there until midnight. One meeting, I think it was a record, went for 8 hours. Now, can you imagine you're there and you want to complain about a traffic light and you've got to sit through a bunch of mishigas or stuff that you have no care in the world about, going on and on and on, and all you want to do is talk about you need a traffic light on a corner. Munns brought it back up, and Horn started in right away. I have a feeling Horn brought it to Munns, and Munns agreed to put it on the agenda, because why would Horn go first? So this is what Council Member Horn said. Quote, "This is in no way where we're trying to infringe on the First Amendment right to expression."
That's always a good place to start.
Yeah. No, I will say they are not trying to infringe on the First Amendment right to expression. But I bet you these people do not know that there are 5 rights in the First Amendment. And the last one is always forgotten. And it is to petition your government for a redress of grievances. And it is expressly pointed out that Congress shall make no law abridging this or any other right in the First Amendment. And they have spread this not just to Congress, but to state and local government bodies also. So he continues, your First Amendment right to expression. We're trying to be as productive as we can for citizens, and we're not trying to limit the ability of citizens to reach out to us. Really, Rick? Are you? He goes on. They can reach us by phone, by text, by email.
Oh, yeah? Are you going to respond?
Exactly. Oh, that is a bunch of BS. What is your phone number, Rick? Please give it out. How can we call and text you? He goes on. That has always been the case, and we're always open.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. You're more than welcome, he says, to call me, text me, email me. Really, Rick? Really? Because I can tell you that people email you directly and you never respond. As a matter of fact, the only 2 council people to respond recently, when they were there, were Shelby and Anthony.
Who's to even say they even read them?
Exactly. Rick continues, but sometimes we'll see the public comments that really come forward and have no business with the city. Or in other words, sometimes they'll get public comments that the city can't do anything about, like geopolitical politics.
And that sucks, but you can't punish everyone for some people who are not using it correctly.
Don't understand where to go. Of course, you could tell them where they need to go. So he goes on. So we're trying to make it as efficient as we can for the staff that's here. Sure you are. Through all the other citizens that have real concerns about itemized items that are on the agenda that we're going to talk about for individual consideration.
When does he get to what they want to do?
Oh, he does. Hold on. This is the lead up. Wait for it.
It's a very long lead up.
Well, he is a politician. So he goes on. I'd like to reduce the number of times we have public comments, get a load of this, to once a month.
How is that not limiting people's right to address them?
Exactly. And save it towards the end of the meeting. Yeah, so let's see. You're only going to give people once a month to address you about anything they want to, which will only make you sit there longer because now they've got to wait until once a month.
You have a build-up. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
So stupid.
And then you're going to relegate them to the end of the meeting. When your meetings go past 11 o'clock sometimes, if you have a long agenda, why should somebody sit through a 2 or 3 hour meeting?
Well, if it's that important, you'll wait.
What if it's something critical?
You'll wait. If it's that important, I feel like that's the attitude.
Yeah. Give me a break, Rick.
This way we'll weed out all the ones that are not important.
Yeah.
So stupid.
He finishes off, so we can take care of city business early. Okay, first of all, the residents are your city business. The residents' concerns are your business. You work for the residents. I tell you, I was yelling at the computer screen because I watch these things on my computer. I think Oklahoma could have heard me. I was using language that
you don't typically use.
that is in R-rated movies. Okay, not PG, because if there's one area that really gets me mad, it is when people try to infringe on the First Amendment. Also, it's been a really bad week. And I have I've had a really bad week dealing with a lot of other BS from another organization I am a member of.
Favorite acronym today?
Yeah. If you can come up with another one, be my guest. And they were also dealing with First Amendment issues. So I was already riled up. And then this pops right on my screen. I get very, very upset when it comes to this kind of infringement in government. I would say I get more upset than I do about wasteful spending. So 2 chimes in, Councilwoman 2.
Oh, that's not be good.
Oh, yeah. She says she agrees with Council Member Horn.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
I'm stunned. She agrees with him about once a month and at the end of the meeting. And then she decides that she's no longer going to be compliant with the Americans for Disabilities Act.
Huh?
Yes. She goes on to say she does not think we need to have Zoom available anymore. Now,
what's the harm in it?
Exactly. What is the harm in it? So, Zoom came about because of COVID. All right. And that is when they decided to go only to Zoom for public comments. And they gave people an option to come in on Zoom during COVID and during the renovations of the city council's municipal building. That has become a reasonable accommodation to people who are disabled, have transportation or mobility issues. Now, if we never had Zoom, if Zoom did not exist, then no, you do not have to offer a reasonable accommodation on something that does not exist. But now you have it. And now you are taking it away, possibly, or making it more difficult for people to access it. I will continue with that in a minute. 2 goes on to say, quote, because we are respecting the First Amendment rights of everyone, we really can't control what is said. And sometimes I cringe when there's boys or Girl Scouts sitting there. She means in the audience. So yes, sometimes the boys or the Girl Scouts will come and they will do the Pledge of Allegiance. But they leave. They leave very shortly after.
They gotta go home and do homework.
Yes, they don't stay there the whole time. So you could do the consent agenda first, give them a chance to leave before public comments. You could also, when you know Alex Stein is coming to speak, because you have to sign up to speak beforehand, push him to the end and ask the boys or the girls, Scouts, to leave before Stein comes up to speak.
Also, if they're really concerned about, if they're really just concerned about, I doubt it though, people who have no business speaking to city council, like they're not residents, they're not talking about anything that city council can control, then why don't they just have the residents speak first?
Well, actually,
I think we've talked about that before.
Yes, they can allow only residents or owners of property or businesses in Plano come and speak to them. If you don't live in Plano, if you don't do business in Plano, if you don't work in Plano, if you don't own property in Plano, you have no business coming to Plano City Council to speak if it doesn't concern you. Also, you can say to people, listen, we have no control over this. Yes, Alex Stein can be very inappropriate. Right? I'm going into some R-rated information next. So if you have little ones listening, please pause and turn us back on when they have left the room. So, one time, Alex Stein came to city council with a ball gag in his mouth. Now, I must admit,
Why?
I was shocked. I
think that was the intention.
Totally just, I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe he was coming up with that in his mouth.
I think that was the intention.
Yes, that was the intention. So obviously he has
shock value.
Yes, shock value. So he has this thing in his mouth. Totally inappropriate for a city council meeting. One time he came in wearing a bathing suit. It was one of those scuba diver kinds of bathing suit things. Okay,
a little better than the.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was not a. Yeah, no, it wasn't a Speedo bathing suit, at least. Okay. And I remember Anthony Riccadelli said, "We can require a dress code. We can say no bathing suits."
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really going to object to that.
Yeah, you can require a dress code. All right. So back to Alex Stein and the ball gag. So obviously he has this in his mouth, so he cannot speak. So he turns on a tape recorder, and the tape recorder is speaking, and the tape recorder is saying not PG things. And Mayor Munns stops him, and I don't remember why, but had him escorted out by police. As far as I'm concerned, when Stein came up to the podium with a ball gag, you could have kicked him out right there. It's inappropriate.
Did it have any relation to what he was talking about?
He was talking about.
Or was it just there for the shock value?
It was there for the shock value, but what the machine was talking about was kids who were sexually abused at school or being sexually abused by teachers. A very, very horrible thing, granted, and he wants shock value because, as he has stated, he's come to talk about things like everybody else in the past. Horrible things that have been happening, and they nod and they are quiet, and then nothing happens. So he wants to get shock value. He wants people to pay attention to what he's saying, so this is what he does.
The only problem with that is you then lose people with your message.
Yeah.
There's this woman, I've talked about her before, that she's called that vegan teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of does a similar thing, or she used to, or I think she's still around somewhere. But she kind of does the same thing where she says ridiculous things for the attention, thinking that that's enough. When it's not, you're just turning people off from your message, and nothing's going to be done anyway.
Yes.
So you're not accomplishing anything.
Right.
You're just making people
mad,
turn away from you.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. Most people, if they were watching it on TV, they turned off their TV. If they were watching it on the computer, they paused and fast forward. I mean, the message wasn't getting across. So Mayor Munns could have said, take that thing out of your mouth or get out. And he had every right to do that. But he didn't. Instead, what they're doing is basically punishing everybody for one person who doesn't live in the city. Council member Care, one of the new guys, pretty much agreed with Hornan too. I'm shocked. Shocked. Here's another shocking one. Levine agreed with everybody also. Now, I hate to do this, but I have to be fair. So I'm going to be fair. Levine did suggest that we give some leeway to staff on which date they'll allow public comment in the month. Basically saying, well, if there's a short agenda, at one council meeting, put comments of public interest in that meeting, because occasionally they'll have a meeting where they're only doing the consent agenda. Or maybe they're only doing one individual item. Other meetings, agendas can be very long. One meeting we had 6 items. I will give him credit for at least saying, let's let staff try to figure out which meeting would these be best at. However, the problem with that is there is no consistency. If there would be consistency if council said, we're going to put all comments of public interest at the last meeting of every month. Then people would know, okay, I get to come at the last meeting of every month. Now, what would have been a better suggestion, Steve, would have been if you had said, let's keep the last meeting of the month short so that we can be consistent with public comments. Munns asked about taking away the Zoom. And pretty much Councilman Tu said, could people make special requests? Reach out to council to make special requests to use Zoom. So now the disabled or the old person whose mobility is limited, or somebody who's sick with cancer and can't get out of the house, has to jump through an extra hoop to speak to you? No, that's not how this works. You don't put more burden on the disabled, on the elderly, and on the sick. And staff said that it would no longer be an option when people sign up on the website. So how are they going to reach out to you?
I don't understand why. Like, what's the problem with having more options?
Okay, so this is what I think. I was watching the previous council meeting before this one, and I noticed they changed the camera angle. So it used to be that whenever anyone came up to speak at the podium, no matter who it was, staff or the public, the camera always faced the person who was speaking. All right? There's usually a very good, clear picture of them. Well, at the council meeting before this one, before March 9th, they changed that. It was the same as it always was when staff was speaking or when an applicant was speaking. But when a person from the general public came to speak, all of a sudden the camera angle switched so that now we can only see the person who's speaking from behind them. So all we see is the back of their head. We can't see their face.
Okay.
And it's a very far away because I guess they don't want to get a close-up of the full council and their facial expressions. It is a horrible, horrible angle. I hate it. The Texas House does this when the committees have public hearings. All I see is the back of people's heads. I hate it.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
Do they not want to show their face?
I don't know. The state Senate doesn't do that. I don't like it. I like to see people's facial expressions. You can really get a feel of how deeply invested somebody is just by their facial expressions. The Senate doesn't do it. I thought that maybe it was because where in the House chamber where they're meeting, these committees are meeting, they only have one camera angle, or one camera. So that's the angle that we have to get. Whereas the Senate, that's not the case. So I'm thinking that with Zoom, you can't do that.
You cannot show the video.
Well, there's an issue with that. The legislature has made a rule, and this came out during COVID, I think, that if they have Zoom, they have to have the camera on. I don't know why, but people have often had an issue where they could not get their camera to work when they're on Zoom. And Munz has said, we can hear you, but we can't see you. And the law is we have to be able to hear and see you. They can't turn the camera off. So if Alex Stein were to go to Zoom and he's got a ball gag in his mouth again.
No. I'm not saying that for council they turn off the camera. I'm saying that on the television or computer screen, the recording, you don't show it.
Oh, yes. They could do that. Now, obviously, you would see it in the chamber, I think. I think you might be able to see it in the chamber. I don't know. I haven't been in the chamber when somebody's been on Zoom, so I don't know. But yeah, they could. The camera guy does not have to shoot that.
Probably that would be the editor, but okay.
Well,
the live editor. The person who switches camera angles.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
That's a live editor.
Okay. Yes. Show the count. Do a close up of the council then. Yes. I think they can do that.
Okay, that's the problem. There you go. Problem solved.
Right.
You don't have to limit access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you also, again, this comes from the Alex Stein problem because he comes to city council. We have very good feed. We've got very good technology. And he can use that to get clicks. He takes that feed. It's public feed. You can take it and you can use it on his YouTube or Instagram or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, if they want to, just have the live cameraman not show it, not show the Zoom. And yeah, when he comes up, pull away. Or, you know what? You can say, you don't live here, you don't work here, you don't own a business here, you have no business being here. Mr. Stein.
Yeah, they can turn it away. He's not a Plano. I want to say Planoite.
Yeah, he's not a Planoite in any sense of the word. Chu also said, in regards to the Zoom, she basically said, if people who can't, are disabled and can't come down, they can also reach out to us directly. There are multiple council members. So somebody will respond. When she said that they often get emails addressed to the whole council. Well, yes, people will address the whole council if it's something that they feel the whole council needs to be aware of. But that does not negate the responsibility of you, Councilwoman Chu, from reaching out.
Wait, I think I also remember her saying, wasn't she the one who said
Yes, she was.
that she doesn't respond to emails or even look at emails that are addressed to the whole council?
She said she doesn't respond to emails at all. She had said, if you recall, we have her on tape saying that people will not hear from her when they try to contact her. They won't. People have had to resort to going up to her in person to tell her what they think, because she never gets back to anybody. And she is on recording. We have her on recording saying it. It's one of our most popular podcast episodes, by the way, that one. So yeah, basically she says somebody will respond to a specific item.
Not her.
Yeah, not her, somebody else. And she ends, of course, however, I'm not going to put a restriction on freedom of speech. This is not a restriction on freedom of speech. This woman is supposed to be a lawyer. This woman is supposed to be a lawyer. I wonder if somebody asked her what are the 5 rights in the First Amendment, she would not know. I guarantee you, I will bet money she won't know without looking it up. She should know that off the top of her head. Any good lawyer should. Well, our very new councilwoman, I will say, she's a very calm woman. Very, very soft-spoken, genteel lady, I have found her to be. She said she agrees with everyone. But she added, I would like to add that in the event that someone has an expression that is inappropriate or offensive to members of our community, that we keep that in mind and that we let them know that we understand how they feel and we may not be in agreement with what was presented before us. I thought that was very nice of her. You're looking perplexed, or you're looking like you're thinking about something. The wheels are spinning in her head.
I'm just wondering what that all's supposed to mean. It kind of just sounds like a bunch of niceties that mean nothing.
So, for example, if Alex Stein were to come up and do something inappropriate, what she's saying is we should say, we are sorry if anyone has been hurt by this fool's demonstration. She would probably not say fool. I would. By this demonstration, we do not condone the behavior or agree with it, or agree with the statement that was said.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times on radio programs, right before the radio program comes up and it's an opinion, there's usually a little blurb that says, the views expressed by the host or guest do not reflect necessarily the views of the station.
Okay, so that's what she's saying.
Yeah, that's what she's saying. She wants to put out kind of a disclaimer. And Vidal and Downs agreed with everything. We have lemmings, folks.
I think that just means when everyone agrees, that just means a bunch of them don't have an opinion.
Or they've come to a decision before the open meeting. In secret.
I feel like in this case, aside from the mayor and Rick Horn and maybe Maria, Everyone else probably just doesn't have a strong opinion on it, or just like, yeah, whatever, that sounds cool.
Probably.
I'll agree with that. I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. They don't have a strong opinion.
Yeah. This is where we could have used not a Rick Horn. God, strike me dead for saying that. A Rick Smith, a Shelby Williams, and a Anthony Riccidelli. Rick Smith was the best on this out of everybody. He said, give them time at the beginning, give them the full 3 minutes, and then move on. We will just ignore it. If you give it attention, you're feeding the beast. He knew that. Shelby Williams, he was very clear. He wanted to figure out a way to get rid of Stein and what he called the Undercard Act.
I don't remember that.
The hangers-on who would try to copy Alex.
Copycats.
Yeah, the copycats. Without infringing on the people's First Amendment right to address their government. Shelby Williams actually knows that there are 5 rights in the First Amendment. And he's not a lawyer. Anthony also was very clear. I say if they were there, they would have been vocally saying, very diplomatically, not no, but hell no to this. But nobody pushed back. Not one single solitary person. And because this was done in the preliminary meeting, because I made the mistake of not looking at the agenda before to warn you all, and I'm sorry about that. This was out of the blue. All that was on the agenda, by the way, that was listed for this was discussion of comments of public interest. So nobody would have had a clue what they were going to talk about before they said anything. So why would you sign up? What happens is before they open the public hearing to let people speak on an item, they don't talk about it. They just read, and now it's time to discuss comments of public interest. Okay, let me open up the public meeting. Is there anybody to speak on this item? Yes or no? So you have no idea what they're going to say. I would have had no idea where they were going with this, or anyone else for that matter. Well, needless to say, this has gone over like a lead balloon with the public.
That's a new one?
No, it's an old expression.
Oh,
yeah.
It's new to me.
Yeah, meaning this did not fly, because a lead balloon doesn't fly.
Yeah.
So this was in Community Impact. Somebody shared the Community Impact article on the transportation group on Facebook, and they were outraged, as right as they should be. I will tell you, I am very impressed with one woman who is in this Facebook group. She did not let grass grow under her feet. Within less than 24 hours, she put together a flyer and put together a rally.
Wow.
Yeah. I've never met this lady. I've only seen her on the Facebook group, and I've seen her speak about DART at city council meetings. She is fabulous. She is. So this young woman, she has put together a rally, and the flyer reads, "Speaking for our rights as citizens. She has a big bullhorn. Rally at City Hall Monday, March 23rd, 6 p.m. Let Plano speak. A peaceful civic gathering for the public. Plano City Hall, March 23rd, 6 p.m., 1520 K Avenue. Residents are gathering before the city council meeting to support open public comment and the ability for citizens to speak directly to their local government. No RSVP needed, just show up. Want to speak at council? That does require a sign up in advance. Sign-ups open March 19th. She gives the where to go to the website. Bring a friend, bring a sign, bring your voice. And then she tells us why. Plano City Council recently changed its rules to limit public comment to once per month and move it to the end of the meeting, meaning residents may now have to wait through the entire meeting just to speak. Obviously, on comments of public interest, you can still speak on specific agenda items. Is this about one issue? No. Residents speak about many issues and viewpoints. Public comment exists so that the community can participate in local government. It's one of the few ways residents can speak directly to local officials in public meetings about taxes, safety, transportation, neighborhoods, and other decisions that affect daily life. Sign up to speak at the March 23rd City Council meeting. Residents may request to speak on any agenda item and may sign up for multiple items. Need help organizing your thoughts? Well, she says, ask ChatGPT. I don't recommend that. What should I wear? No dress code. But if you're feeling theatrical, wear black to mourn the shrinking of public comments. In the city, we all pay taxes in. Very, very bright girl. Very bright young woman. I'm very impressed with that whole thing. I will post that on the Facebook page of Plano's Political Pitbull. Please feel free to attend. Sadly, I have a conflict and I cannot attend, but go out there and attend. Also, public comments on non-agenda items, or public comments of special interest, as they're called, are required by the legislature of Texas. They are required for all governing bodies. And when one government entity does this, you start seeing more and more bodies doing it. So not only will this just be for Plano City Council, this will also be for all the boards and commissions, such as Planning and Zoning, Library Advisory Board. So they are limiting access to all the governing bodies of the city. And this is why
School board?
School board is separate, but school board did this in August, and people were furious about it. This is where they got the idea from. Yeah, I believe we talked about it. We usually don't talk about school board stuff. We focus on city council. We only have so much bandwidth, folks. I'm sorry. There's only so many of us and so many more of them. So much to keep an eye on, so little time.
Only so much brain power.
Yeah. Only so much time in the day. So yes, school boards have already done this, and people are mad about that. This is why people go to their legislature, and the legislature starts interfering in local governments, because local governments think that they are kings and queens. And they think that they do not have to follow the rules that everyone else does.
Well, really, I think they're like, oh, nobody pays attention to us. We're so small. Nobody's gonna care.
Well, that's when they get the idea that they're kings and queens. See, that's how it happens. If they were on Fox News every single night, or even the local news every single night, if they were what every talk show host was talking about, they would be more
careful
about what they did. But they're not. They have become arrogant. So here's my suggestion to you all. Find out who your representative is in the state of Texas. Congress cannot help. If you go to your congressman, he's going to tell you need to go to the state government. So you need to contact your state legislature or your state senator. In Plano, our state senator is Angela Paxton. I don't think Plano encompasses Senate District 2. If you are in Senate District 2, that's Bob Hall. All right. So Angela Paxton and Bob Hall. How do you know which Senate district you're in? It's on your voter registration card. You can also look up, Google who represents me, or Bing, or Yahoo, whatever search engine you have, and you can put in who represents me, and it'll lead you to a site where you can put in your information, and it'll spit out every person who represents you and their contact info. Angela Paxton or Bob Hall. You can go to their website through the Texas legislature website. You can get their contact info there. Find out who your state representative is in Texas. So Plano has 3. If you're on the west side, you're probably in 66, and that would be Matt Shaheen. If you are in 67, that's Jeff Leach. And if you are in 89, that is Candy Noble. You can email their offices. You can also call their office. Find out who their chief of staff is. And maybe they can all direct you to the proper person on the staff for this. And tell them that you want legislation mandating that local governing bodies put comments of public interest on every agenda, number 1, where people can speak on issues that the local governments can respond to, can take care of, and that it has to go at the beginning of every meeting, not relegated to the end, not relegated to one time whenever the body deems necessary. No, every meeting, at the beginning of every meeting. Also, if they have the ability to use Zoom, and I say it that way because you have some very small towns who may not have this ability, they must allow people to use Zoom. It becomes a requirement. And also, one other thing, they must allow for in-person, same day before the meeting, sign up. This whole thing about having to go to a website, having to put your name in before 4 o'clock on the website is ridiculous. People should be allowed to sign up to speak for public comments 15 minutes before the meeting in person. And also, if they want to get really sneaky, it's got to be in the chamber. The person has to be allowed to speak in the chamber. Do you remember one time they said, well, public comments have to be on Zoom? Mm-hmm. So one resident was there. He spoke on a bunch of items that were on the agenda, and then staff had to take him literally to another room to speak in front of a computer to be on Zoom.
That was ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. So yeah, no. I don't want any loopholes for this, all right? We want the person must be allowed to speak in person at the podium facing council. Or they must be allowed on Zoom if the council or the governing body has the technology for it. That's so that if they allowed it in the past, they got to allow it in the future. Mm-hmm. See? I'm going to try to craft something so that I can put it out for you all if you will like it. But mark my words, I will be calling my state legislature and my senator, and I'll be letting them know this has got to be taken care of, because governing bodies, local governing bodies, I don't care who you are, they have got to stop thinking that they are somehow better than their constituents, better than their residents, and somehow have been elevated to king and queen status. No. You answer to the residents. And I am going to say this now because it's a year away. 4 places are up for election next year on city council. Thank God Councilwoman 2 is termed out. May I never see that woman again. The other ones are place 5, that is Councilman Levine. He must run again because he was only there to fill Shelby's term out. And the fact that he won still irritates me. So he was only there to fill Shelby's term out. Well, Shelby's term was supposed to end next year. So look, place 5 is up. Place 4 is up. That's Horn. He is up for re-election. Kick him to the curb. By all looks, this was his idea. He needs to go. And I can't think who else is up. That's only, was that 3 or 4?
Let's see. 2, 9.
Horn.
No, that was 3.
There's one more. I can't remember who the one more is now. But that person needs to go too. Oh, wait. I think Horn is 3. Horn might be place 3. It doesn't matter. I don't really care. Whatever place he is, he needs to go. I'll let you know who the 4th person is. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But they need to all be kicked to the curb, as far as I'm concerned, and replaced with people who are not going to wait for the Texas legislature and the governor to sign a bill into law forcing the council to let people have their 5th right in the First Amendment.
That is a sad day.
That is a sad. It is a sad. If the legislature has to actually do this, it will be a sad day. All right. Here's something to reduce my blood pressure. It is probably very high.
Someone needs to relax. Thor's still up for adoption. He's a friendly boy who's about 2 years of age, is very playful with children, is active when he plays, so maybe best in a home without young children, so older children. Thor was very excited for his first Pups in the Park walk. He had a lot of energy as he left his kennel, but settled down quickly. He was very patient while being harnessed in the lobby of the shelter and loaded into the cart without issue. Thor rode well in the car and was very relaxed. He walked well on the leash and got along well with all the other dogs in the group. Thor exhibited no prey drive while encountering birds and squirrels along the walk.
All right. And if you are interested in seeing more about Thor, please go to our website, planospoliticalpitbull.com, and click on the link Pit Bulls for Adoption, and you will see lovely pictures, cute, adorable little pictures of Mr. Thor. Well, folks, that is all for today. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. This is Esther.
And this is Ruth.
For Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.